What up guys, and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be going over that top 10 video that I was discussing with you guys on the channel earlier, and that means that we're going to be going over that, and stay tuned for the other videos that are going to be coming out on the channel today because they're freaking amazing. Hope you guys enjoy. Now this one's going to be of the top 10 exotics for Destiny that we want implemented into the game that were created by you guys, the fans of Destiny, of Bungie. All those fans that are on the subreddits and everything else, they came up with these ideas. They're actually pretty awesome. I only implemented the guns that would possibly be, kind of okay to implement into the game, and they weren't broken like the Galahorn. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, you guys. Starting into our top 10, we have Fenrir's Howling, an exotic hand cannon created from the designs and the concepts of Galahorn itself, a fan favorite rocket launcher. And that is why it's on our top 10 list and in the spot for number 10, because there's no information on the gun, there's no perks, there's no story, there's also no references towards any fancy abilities for this weapon. And that's why we don't know if it's broken. So that way we can't really put it off the list, but we also can't put it further down the list because we don't know if it is a possible exotic for Destiny. Coming in at number 9 is Whisper, an exotic sniper rifle that has a very cool and unique twist to it. The sniper rifle has two perks, Softly and Inside Voices. Softly allows the scope on it to not emit a red light that's found on other sniper rifles, and it's a completely silenced weapon. The Inside Voices perk adds another twist to the gun by making it a type of shotgun type weapon by allowing hip fire and increased accuracy and damage to hip fire shots. This is going to change gameplay for snipers and also for shotgunners, and possibly make shotgunners start using sniper rifles or the Whisper. And it's not as broken as we may think because it only holds 3 rounds in the magazine, and its fire rate is extremely low. So this is a very practical weapon that we could possibly see in Destiny in future years. Coming into the list at number 8 is an exotic hand cannon concept that popped up on other channels on YouTube once before, known as the Serpent. The creator is LJE Shot 1, and his imagined envision of the gun is a snake crawling along the side, gold scales, and along the side is a light that emits a color of whatever perk that you decide to use. It's also modeled against the 7 deadly sins, so the perks would correlate to those 7 deadly sins, and the gun would be acquired by doing a bounty called Isaac's Fate and completing a bunch of tasks for a mysterious warlock before eventually getting the gun. Now, the inscription for the gun says, "He said not to. Has that stopped you before?" By Unknown Warlock. And the magazine size for this gun is 7, total ammo is 63, impact is 66, rate of fire 30, range 25, stability 50, and reload speed is 58. Now this gun has several perks alongside it that you get to choose from, but you can only activate one at a time to keep the gun stable and available to be put into a game and not be broken at all. Now, there are going to be relations towards whatever perk that you pick, and you would get that perk, and then the color of the gun would change in the light bar along the side. Wrath is red. Killing an enemy increases damage significantly for 10 seconds. Green is gold. Precision kills will give you more glimmer. Sloth is gray, lowers rate of fire up to 12, but also gives you 13 in the magazine. Pride is going to be blue. Using a whole magazine will increase all stats slightly. This can stack 10 times, but will reset back to 0 if you reload early or swap your weapon. And death also resets this buff. Lust is going to be pink. Shots have a chance to have precision damage if it is body shots once or twice per magazine, and only once per twice. It's kind of like the lucky round perk. And Envy is going to be green, and that's going to change the light to green and increase damage against shielded enemies. This perk activates on overshields in Crucible as well. And then the final one would be Gluttony, which would be a white light, and that increases the rate of fire to 40 and doubles the total magazine size but you do less damage. Now, he envisioned the hand cannon to be a golden scales covered hand cannon with a glowing line going down the side like a snake, whichever color you pick for the perk. Now, saying all these perks are actually fairly even, and if you're only allowed to use one perk at a time, this gun would be very effective in being implemented into the game soon enough. And I would really like to see this gun eventually being put into Destiny because it does have a nice concept behind it. Coming into the list at number 7 is going to be another one of Psych Diver's concepts known as the Double Dragon. The Double Dragon is going to be a dual-wield exotic hand cannon with a solar hand cannon and a arc hand cannon in opposing hands. Now, before you guys think that any of this is interesting, we're going to move into the Double Dragon perk itself. It's going to have Hipfire and Firefly in the same perk, which is going to allow for a very interesting weapon in being able to circle around and hip-fire the weapon with accuracy, but also doing that solar and arc damage at the same time, along with explosive rounds from Firefly. This is going to change up the gameplay in Crucible probably, but we're also going to move into the reload speed. The reload speed isn't that great, which also narrows this gun down from being broken. The reload speed is going to be so low because you have to reload each gun separately that I'm not too sure whether it's going to actually be worth using. I would like to see it implemented into Destiny because it could be used into some scenarios, and for those players that really like hand cannons, it's a nice feature to add to the game. And dual wielding in general, I would really like to see implemented into the game in future years. Coming into the list at number 6 is my personal favorite, created by Maverick R.J. Wilson 035. 035 decided to make a Destiny exotic crossbow concept for the heavy weapon slot. As you see by the design art, it looks like Vex technology, and you would be correct. We'll move into that shortly. This gun does have a quest line that you get from Cade 6. If you were a hunter in the Taken King DLC, you will remember getting your Spectral Bow and the Night Stalker questline. The Night Stalker questline at the very end, before you actually get the ability to use Night Stalker, there's a dead guardian. That would be Cade 6's friend. Cade 6's friend owed Cade a lot of glimmer, so Cade decides to tell you to go to his secret stash on Mars because Cade is afraid to fly planes himself. With that, you guys go through a bunch of quests and you guys uncover clues along the way, and each day you would get a new quest for the first week. At the end of that, you would give it to Banshee, and then Banshee would tell you to wait till next week's reset. Now, this gun, after reset, is then test played and then given back to Cade. After that, Cade tells you that Banshee's going to have a new model of the weapon next week. That means after 2 weekly resets. Once you get that, you'll have to also test play that one and see if it finally works. And then Cade will then give it to you as a gift for your hard trouble and also receiving the glimmer that his buddy owed him. After all of this is done, you end up having the gun, and it is a fairly decent gun. It's going to be the max light level available. It's also going to have the ability to fire a bolt through walls, or technically through space and time with the Time Shifter perk. And with the Time Shifter perk, you can see through walls. So if you're aiming at a wall and you have ammo in reserve, this perk activates. And you have to have ammo in reserve. And you have to have ammo in the magazine. When you do this, you will be able to see through a wall, and you can aim at a target by pressing a certain button. And once that target is acquired, you'll fire a bolt at the wall. It will teleport through time and hit that target. At this point, most enemies it's going to be a one-hit kill. Majors and ultras it's just going to be very, very effective. And it's also a very, very unbroken weapon because of the ability of it only holding 3 rounds. The magazine only holds 3 rounds, and the reserve only holds, I believe, 1 round. So that's a very small reserve. That's also a very small magazine size. And in Crucible, that would mean that you would only have 1 bolt in reserve and 1 bolt in magazine, making you have the ability to see through a wall. But once you fire 1 bolt, you would lose that ability permanently until picking up another heavy drop. With this being said, it's got a nice concept, a nice story, Some very nice, interesting perks, and it's also a new type of gun that I would really like to see implemented into Destiny. Coming into number 5 is a really nice idea created by Bing 1 known as the Phobos Buster. It's a heavy Cabal scout rifle, and this scout rifle is put into your heavy slot as the term for the name. Also surplus, expect to find more ammo for this weapon, armor piercing rounds, and also bust a move. 3 consecutive shots to the same target causes a massive explosion. Scion Buster, another perk on the weapon, deals bonus damage to scions. And the gun's quote or the description on the gun is, "We blew up the moon just for standing in our way. Scion flares." So this could be really effective against the Scion flares. This could also be a raid weapon for the next DLC that's supposedly Cabal. And it could help against the raid by killing a bunch of Scions in a room that are possibly in the raid. And it could help break down the shields of a phalanx and help with the bosses in the raid that are Cabal. So all in all, this is a really nice idea, a really nice concept that Bungie, I hope, is listening to. And I really would like to have it implemented into the next DLC for the raid gun, because I'd kind of like to have that heavy scout rifle. It's something new, it's a new idea, and it's not that broken. Coming into our list of number 4, 3, and 2 are going to be made from the same guy. Number 4 is the exotic pulse rifle known as the Savage Tickle. "Barbarians need cuddles too" is the quote on the gun. Now, the Savage Tickle has 3 different scopes that you can use, from smart drift control to smooth ballistics to aggressive ballistics, all varying in distances and allowing you to decide how far you want this gun to shoot and what scenario you're going to be using it for. Perk number 1 is going to be full auto. Perk number 2 is going to be hammer forged, fitted stock, or field scout, making this an all-around good gun. And perk number 3 is going to make it the exotic ancient spear. Melee damage is doubled while this weapon is being used. So while you're holding this weapon, or while you're using it, your melee damage is doubled. In PvP scenarios, that is amazing, especially against a shotgun. Now, this gun is fairly weighted out, with the magazine being a 30 like all the other pulse rifles. Rate of fire is a 77 like every other pulse rifle in the game. Impact is still a 4. Range is going to be a 40, a little higher than the others, but that's because of this gun's ability to be able to be a far, near, or mid-range. The stability on it's going to be a 60. It's going to be a little lower than most of the higher end guns. And then the reload speed is going to be a 48. Now, with that being said, the gun is going to be fairly decent in PvP or PvE, but it's still weighted out nicely, and the guy that created it did a really nice job. And we're going to be moving into number 3 on the countdown. Number 3 on the countdown is Neural Blackout, an exotic shotgun, void damage. "I see," said the dead man, is the quote on the gun, and it's created by the same guy as the Savage Tickle. Scopes are going to be CQB ballistics, soft ballistics, linear compensator. Perk number 1 is crowd control. Perk number 2 is quick draw, hammer forged, or flared magwell, which fits nicely because it doesn't have that shot package that everybody loves. Then perk number 3 is optical overload. Enemies damaged by this weapon are temporarily blinded. Now, with that being in effect, that's just adding the Titan's bubble perk to a gun, which is nice because you still don't have that much ammo for a special weapon in the Crucible, which is going to even that perk out nicely, but it will still be used in your ability to being able to take over some scenarios in Crucible rather nicely and being a competitive player. Now, Fellwinter's Lie, Astral Horizon, and Neural Blackout are all going to be compared to each other. Neural Blackout's the new exotic, and we're going to compare it to Astral Horizon and Fellwinter. Fellwinter has a magazine of 6, which is kind of broken because I think that gun should be lowered. Astral Horizon has 5, so Neural Blackout has 5. Rate of fire on all 3 are going to be 5. Impact is 64. Range is going to be 20, which is 5 lower than Fellwinter's or Astral, making it fairly decent and okay to use because say you're further away from them but you still hit them with the round, they're going to be blinded. Also, moving into it, you have the stability, it's a 25. So it is higher than those because those other two are going to be 16. And then the reload speed is also lowered to 20. Neural Blackout pretty much lines up in its class of weapons for the Crucible, and it's going to be a fairly decent shotgun in Crucible or in PvE. Going on to the next gun that he created is the Punctured Hope, also number 2 in our list for the countdown. It's the exotic sniper rifle, Void Damage. The quote underneath this weapon is, "The best way out is always through." Scope is going to be Field Choke, CQB Ballistics, and Linear Compensator. Perk number 1 is Armor Piercing Rounds. Perk number 2 is Snapshot, Perfect Balance, or Field Scout, making it a fairly decent sniper rifle. And perk number 3 is Friendly Fissure. Bullets do bonus damage after passing through objects. Now, if we wanted to talk about that in previous sections, the other section before that, we were talking about the Time Shifter, or the Time Splitter, exotic crossbow, where it could travel through walls. This gun can shoot through walls as well, and it does bonus damage if you do so. The only thing with this is you may miss the target because you don't know where the target is behind that wall. This is going to be a fairly weighted out gun. It's going to have some nice abilities. It's lined up pretty evenly with the other guns, but I will say it has lower stability and it does have lower reload speed than most sniper rifles. The range is slightly higher, kind of being in the mid-range for the range of a sniper rifle, making this a fairly weighted sniper for an exotic sniper rifle in Destiny, and I hope all 3 of these guns make it to Destiny in the future because they all have great ideas. Number 1 on our countdown of the top 10 exotics that we want to see implemented into Destiny is His Rose. His Rose is an exotic hand cannon that's modeled after the Thorn and has a couple similarities and a couple differences. The big difference is it's a pink hand cannon because it's known as His Rose. Now, if you go into the Grimoire cards of Thorn itself, there's a guy named by the name of Dredgen Yor that owned Thorn. Now, he was a good guardian of light and then later on became corrupted and went to the darkness. At the end of that Grimoire card, it states that he had a handful of jagged purpose of angry thorns. That would be the Thorn hand cannon. Before that, at the beginning of the Grimoire cards, it said that he held a rose. That would be this hand cannon. Now, some people are going to argue that rose is actually Thorn and Thorn is rose. It's not, because there is an opening in the Grimoire cards and it doesn't actually say that rose was Thorn, which would also state that the gun also became corrupted alongside Dredgen Yor. Now, this is all speculation. It's a possibility that they could implement this into the Grimoire cards, but it's also not set in stone, and people could infer that Rose was Thorn and Thorn was Rose, and they're just the exact same gun. But you could also change up the story a bit and add His Rose in just fine. Now, why would this be good to implement into the Destiny game and also into Crucible is because Dredgen Yor's Thorn has a burn effect that can annihilate Guardians really easily in Crucible. If you hit a target with this, it's got a nice power to it that will break a Guardian's shield, and if you shoot him again, there's a burn effect behind it that most likely you're going to win out in any gunfight. Dredgen Yor's His Rose is going to allow you to stop all burn effects on your allies by shooting your own ally. All the burn effects are canceled, and then you are also able to heal your allies for a certain period of health. Now, that's really interesting. It's also going to eliminate Thorn out of Crucible, which I'm all for because personally I've died to Thorn too many times, and since it's just a hand cannon and it's basically just a cheap shot to the face with having to die by a burn while your enemy is even running away from you. If your enemy has to run away from you and you die from a burn effect from a gun, I'm not really thinking that's too fair. So, this is the last gun that we have to talk about, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop a like on the video. Also subscribe to the channel for future videos like this, and let me know what you thought about the guns and your kind of perspective of what guns should be implemented and what guns shouldn't. What effects from each gun is kind of broken, and also some of the abilities that should be implemented into Destiny. Other than that, this is Hunter from Violent Privilege, and like always guys, I'll see you all in the next video.